Welcome to our video on inferring relations. I will first explain how this part of the test is structured. After that, I will share intermediate questions as a practical exercise for you to test your skills. And finally, I will give you some helpful tips and tricks for this topic and for test taking in general. The questions in this part of the test are structured as follows. You have one equation of two pairs of words. Two words are given and two words are missing. You always have four possible answers to choose from. The goal is that on both sides of the equal sign, the word pair has the same relationship to the adjacent word pair. So let's look at an example. Reading this from left to right, we have pot is to blank as toothbrush is to blank. You're given options such as pot is to lid, like toothbrush is to toothpaste, and so on. You can pause here and think of the best answer. The correct answer is C. This is because one can say that a pot is kept in the kitchen and a toothbrush is kept in the bathroom. That means that there is an analogous relationship between the blank fields and the word pairs, one that has to do with objects, so pot or toothbrush, and places, kitchen or bathroom. Inferring relations is the second task set of the core test. Here, your language skills are tested, such as your vocabulary and your linguistic comprehension. These skills are tested by having you recognize verbal analogies and relationships between pairs of words. This task is comprised of 22 questions in total, meaning you must solve all 22 individual questions. For this task, you have 10 minutes time total for answering these 22 questions. The breakdown of this would mean that each question can get 27 seconds, give or take, considering some questions take shorter or longer than the next. You should therefore work quickly but carefully. And you should definitely take your best guess if you're unsure or stuck on a question. The questions in this task follow a particular ordering that is important to take note of. Easier questions are at the beginning of the task, and they become more difficult as the questions progress. Here is a very important pointer. Incorrect answers are not penalized. This means that you will not get any points deducted for answering a question with the wrong answer. Therefore, if you don't know how to solve a question, you should most certainly guess and record down an answer regardless. It's worth noting that this task has differing types of questions. As we will see soon, the blank fields can be arranged in various ways. However, the first word always goes in the first field, that is, the first word that's part of your answer, and the second word always goes in the second field, that is, the second word of your answer. There are 12 frequent relation types that appear in the test, of which I will discuss now. The number one type we will talk about are opposites. For example, absent versus present. The second type are synonyms. For example, building and structure. These words mean the same thing, and in most cases, they are interchangeable. Number 3, umbrella and subterms. For example, German as a subterm for language as an umbrella term. Number 4, part-whole relations. So for example, hours as part of the day. Hours make up the whole entity of a day. Number 5, things that go together. For example, fire and smoke. And number 6, objects and their characteristics. For example, ice and cold. We often associate ice with being cold, as having the characteristic of cold. Number 7, object and functional position. For example, clothing and wardrobe. Clothing is hung up in a wardrobe. It's stored in a wardrobe. So wardrobe has a functional position for clothing. Number 8, actor and action. For example, telephone as an actor and calling or call as an action. Number 9, verb and tense. For example, laugh, which is in the present tense, versus laughed, which is in the past tense. The key distinction here is a mark in time. Number 10, cause and effect. For example, work and tired, where working might be a cause for the effect of feeling tired. Number 11, problem and solution, such as making a mistake and then making a correction. And lastly, degree of expression, where we have an increase in intensity. So for example, there's loud and then there's deafening. On to the next portion of this video, the practice exercise. Here we can test our abilities with 5 moderately difficult questions. Let's begin with question number 1. So as for all practical questions here, feel free to pause the video and take a moment to read them through carefully. In this question, the correct answer is C. So we have time is to seconds, like mass is to weight. Seconds are a unit of time, and weight is a unit of mass. So the relation type we have here is an umbrella, time and mass, and subterm, seconds and weight. Question 1.2. To sing is to blank, like to speak is to blank. Feel free to pause again here. The correct answer is D. To sing is to song, like to speak is to speech. Song is the noun that goes with the verb to sing, and speech is the noun that goes with the verb to speak. Therefore, the relation type we have is things that go together, but more specifically, we have a verb-noun relationship. Question 1.3. To practice is to exercise, like blank is to blank. Consider the answers below. The correct answer is B. To practice is to exercise, like freedom is to liberty. To practice and to exercise are synonymous, as are freedom and liberty. Therefore, the relation type we have here are synonyms. Question 1.4. Violence is to blank, like modesty is to blank. Consider the following options. The correct answer is A. People prone to violence are aggressive, and people who tend towards modesty are reserved. Therefore, we have a relation type of things that go together. Violence with aggressiveness, and modesty with being reserved. We have arrived at the last question of this segment, question 1.5. Berries are to bush as blank is to blank. Feel free to pause again and consider the following options. The correct answer is B. Berries grow on a bush and are thus parts of the bush, just as pears grow on a tree and are likewise part of the tree. The relation type here is thus part whole. Next, I will give you a few tips and tricks for your test preparation as well as for the exam day. For the task of inferring relations, it is very important that you expand your vocabulary. Pre-made vocabulary lists might be helpful with this. For example, those can be found on the Cambridge English website. It can also be helpful to review synonyms, antonyms, and other analogous relationships in preparation. Time management. Consider that you have 10 minutes time to get through 22 questions. That requires you to work quickly and carefully. It can be helpful to complete test runs with a stopwatch. That way, you can manage the timing constraint. Another tip is to get enough language input beforehand. You can do this by, for example, reading English books, consuming English news, or looking at social media posts in English. Listening to English music may also be helpful and even fun. You can also watch your favorite movies and shows in English, and that way you'll feel more warmed up in the language. And for optimal preparation, you should absolutely take mock exams. These you can find on the TestAS website or by using our practice materials. You should familiarize yourself with the layout and structure of the test, as well as the different question types, so that there's no surprises on the exam day. All in all, this will help you gain confidence for the actual test. Now, I'd like to give you a few recommendations for the exam day itself. Try to get enough sleep the day and night prior to the exam. It should not be underestimated how important sleep is for focus and productivity. Don't forget to pack snacks and water to keep yourself fueled. And above all, try to keep as calm and concentrated as possible. Now to the topic of speed. You should work quickly but carefully. Accurately read the instructions and word pairs to avoid mistakes. And if the breakdown of time per question is 27 seconds each, maybe save up some of that time to put towards harder questions by getting through the easiest questions first. Because the sequencing of the test questions has easier questions first and harder last, you should stick to the given order. It may sound obvious, but make sure to clarify relationships so they really make sense. It helps to work out problems in your own words, and when practicing at home, you can speak out loud to try to make sense of the analogies, just as we did for our practice questions in this video. If you have the feeling that a relationship is weak or questionable, it's likely not the one. So, that being said, don't think about it for too long. Listen to your gut feeling and rely on your intuition. As for answering questions, even if the time is running out, make sure to fill out an answer per each question. Don't leave anything unanswered, and don't skip questions. If you're in doubt or unsure which answer to select, it helps to make an educated guess. Here, we advise you to pay attention to word types. So for example, if the given pairs are a verb and an adjective, you can exclude the answers that do not also contain a verb or an adjective. For example, house is to blank like car is to blank. We can immediately eliminate a few options. Letter A, for example, contains 2 adjectives. C contains 2 verbs, and D contains 2 adjectives as well. Therefore, we might go with answer B. A house has a chimney and a car has a trunk. Another helpful strategy is the exclusion principle. Let's look at our example here. On the left, we have cup is to drink like blank is to blank. We can immediately eliminate letter A, plate and dinner, because plate and dinner are not in the kind of relationship that cup is to drink. And also, a plate can be used for other occasions aside from dinner. As discussed previously, it also helps to just look at word classes if you're unsure. And here we have 2 nouns, so A can be eliminated. Answers B and D would also be eliminated using this principle. So therefore, C makes the most sense. We hope that this video was helpful, and we wish you tons of success on your test.